Welcome to another episode of In Your Business. Today we're going to speak with an entrepreneur who's really making some things happen in north central Indiana, in the Warsaw area, Fort Wayne area. And we're going to talk to Luke Wright, the founder and CEO of MudLOVE. Luke, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure. So what we like to do is each episode we get to know the entrepreneur. So I'd like to get to know you a little bit, and then we'll go into talking a little bit about the business as well. So Luke, did you grow up here in Indiana?
Yeah, I grew up right where MudLOVE started, actually. It's a little town called Winona Lake. It's connected to Warsaw, but Winona Lake isn't as well known. So Warsaw kind of is easier to say.
Okay, so are you actually located in Warsaw, or where are you located at?
We actually have a gift shop where MudLOVE started. That's in Winona Lake, and then we have our production facility, and that's in Warsaw, about 8 minutes down the street.
Okay, so let's talk about you as just a young child. As you were growing up, did you have aspirations of being an entrepreneur, or what were you thinking when you were growing up?
No, I never thought about being an entrepreneur. I did love art, though. It was a big part of my life. In fact, when I was in the womb, my mom and dad owned a craft business. So they painted and sold these little wood crafts and customized them, which is actually ironically similar to what we do, just a different medium. And I always joke that the fumes from the paint and the stain sort of got into my blood and kind of left me with this craftiness that I carry on from my parents.
That's excellent. So as you grew up then, as you started thinking about college, where did you go to college?
So I went to Indiana Wesleyan University. I actually started with a kind of like a pre-med degree, which when I was doodling in biology class, I realized that I was in the wrong area. So I switched quickly to ceramics and really fell in love with it. I always liked to draw when I was a kid, but for some reason the ceramics, just the molding and the sculpting of clay and creating three-dimensional art was really appealing to me.
Okay. So is your actual degree in art then?
Yeah, it was in ceramics specifically, but generally art, yeah.
Okay, all right. And when did you start actually working with ceramic? Was it before college or during college?
Yeah, I actually started all the way back in elementary school. I had a really incredible art teacher named Mrs. Viona Brown, who happened to have a kiln at the time. Kind of rare, I would say, in an elementary school classroom. But that was my first experience with the clay. And then I was really fortunate to have some great art teachers along the way in middle school and high school that had decent ceramic programs for a small town. So I had been working with clay for a while, but I had never really considered it as like a career path for me.
Okay. So I have to ask, and this is the fun side of getting to know you, but what's the first thing you remember making out of clay?
Yeah, I remember making kind of a candle warmer, one of those things that you would put like a tea candle underneath and then a little ceramic vessel above and melt something that had scent in it, some like wax that had scent in it. I don't think it actually worked. That was the idea at the time, but I don't know if I have it anymore. Okay,
all right. So before we transition into the business, though, let's talk about that, because do you still work a lot with ceramic? Or is that your passion? Is that what you do?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm more in the product development side, so I'm not daily working with the clay, but the company runs off of clay and different things outside of that. But the clay is the concentration the medium that we use. But today, I'm more about helping improve systems to get orders in and out the door on time. The tools that we use, I can help develop those to make an efficient process for production. My job can actually has everything to do with clay, but I may not touch the clay once during the day at all. So it just depends on what the needs are for the company at the time.
Okay, well, that's great. So what I'd like to do now is transition into the company, because we get the viewers now wondering, okay, well, what's he do? What's his company? So let's talk about that. So what is MudLOVE?
Yeah, I mean, simply put, it's, we start with mud and we end with love. Basically, it's as simple as that. We take clay, we create these mugs, bracelets, different products for people to purchase and enjoy. And then we end with love by donating a week's worth of clean water to a company called Water for Good. And they work out of the Central African Republic, drilling wells and maintaining and fixing broken wells to provide clean water and easier, closer access to water for a lot of people.
Okay. So when you started MudLOVE, did you actually start with the cause?
Yeah, I did. Early on, I actually was working with my dad doing construction. But as I was figuring out a plan B, I started thinking about selling my own stuff clay goods that I learned how to make in college. And through that process, I felt like God was inspiring me to think outside of myself, think outside of just making money. And it was at that time I felt like I'm going to make this business about loving other people. And so in 2009, the name MudLOVE was born before any product was ever made. And the mission from the beginning was to use clay to help people get clean drinking water.
Very good. So it's 2009 when you opened, or was that when you kind of started developing?
Yeah, 2009, September 1st, 2009 was the opening day. It was small, humble beginnings. It was really a unique shop because I was making the product where I also sold it in this little garage in an artisan community. And I didn't have much to show for it when I first started, but the doors were open. And I just kind of started the journey. I didn't really have much more to build on other than the stamp set I inherited from my grandmother, and then this mission of clean water.
So you started in a garage.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was just yourself, is that correct? Just you in the garage?
That's right. Yeah, it was just me.
Okay. And then today, how many employees do you have now?
We have around 40 people helping us out. Some people are full-time production or managers. We also have a creative director and customer service. And then we have a team of women that will work from home. They'll tie bracelets from home, get paid per piece. So that helps fulfill orders, get them out the door.
Okay. So when you first started, just to get an idea of what kind of products you had, that first week, that first year that you started your business, were you making mugs? Were you making bracelets? What were you making?
Yeah, bracelets weren't even an idea at that time. It was really mugs and anything you wanted, really. I was a starving artist trying to just survive. I had a little $100 a month apartment with no kitchen, just trying to survive. So if you came in and said, "Hey, can you make me whatever?" I would be like, "Okay, yep. As long as you have money, I'll make it." And so, the stuff I was stocking on my shelves were mugs, mostly bowls, common pieces of pottery that you would see in your shelf, in your cupboards at home.
And then I guess as sales increased, you started looking for other things to venture into.
Yeah, so I had about a year under my belt, and I was kind of establishing a nice little kind of customization part of the business where I could use the stamp set to put on a mug. People were really interested in that. And then I was just thinking about something that I could make that would sort of break down the kind of the stigma of artisan pottery, where it's like, maybe a little higher end, expensive mugs, things like that. Like, I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to have a product that I felt like anyone could really join in and kind of become a MudLOVE, fan, follower. And so I made this bracelet with, it looks a lot different than it does today, but I took a piece of clay and I rolled it onto a stamp that would say either love or faith or hope, and kind of curled the ends over, and I used hair elastics to tie them together, and made about 100 of them. And I put them on my work table. I didn't really merchandise them. I didn't really try to sell them. I just left them on the table for people to see what I was working on. And they were drawn to it. I sold them for $1. I mean, it was an easy sell for $1 because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what people would think they're worth. But I sold out 100 in a week. And then out of those 100, I think most of them were given to somebody. And then that person would come and find me in my garage, and they would buy some and then give those away to their friends. And I didn't have a website at the time, so it was all organic growth. And the product itself was it was growing itself as we went along.
Okay. So at what point did you go out of the garage?
So that was in 2012. So I had about 2 years of working in the garage, making bracelets. I had hired an employee full-time to help me with anything. He could take photos, he could make bracelets, he could sweep the floor, just anything that needed done. Eventually, we launched a website, and we had like 4 people working in the garage making bracelets, and we realized this is probably not practical anymore. I would spend most of my days working in the clay, and then my evenings prepping elastics to finalize the bracelet, to complete it. And so, yeah, October 2012 is when we moved downtown Warsaw and just had a much bigger facility to work with. However, now it's not feeling so big compared to how big it was in 2012.
Okay. And that's because you've got more activity, you've got more employees, you've got more things going on, right?
Yeah, and we also have a thriving mug program. We have mugs backed up quite a ways right now. We're trying to find ways to utilize our space to get product out the door quicker.
Okay. So as you've made this, your location, you have 2 locations now, is that correct?
Yeah, so the birthplace of MudLOVE, the garage, is now a gift shop called MudLOVE, which is a mix of, we call it a marriage between Belkai and MudLOVE. And Belkai is a brand that my wife started. And that was how we connected and met each other and eventually married. So we decided our small town didn't need 2 MudLOVEs. A gift shop with other brands and other products would be a better idea. And so the garage is a gift shop now, with lots of MudLOVE stuff still, lots of Belkai jewelry and other products. And then downtown Warsaw shop is production, and we do have a small little retail space. We'll also give tours to people and show them how the product is made.
Excellent. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So as you grew, you've gone from yourself to 2 to 4 to today, basically 40 employees. That's a lot of growth just in a short time.
Yeah.
Now, as an entrepreneur, because I teach this in my classes, and there's a lot to learn about business. And sometimes the best way to learn it is do it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that learning curve. What was that like for you to learn all the things you had to learn? You went from 1 employee to 2 to 4 to today 40.
Yeah, a huge learning curve, lots of mistakes, trying not to repeat the same mistake. But, it's been almost 12 years now. We had really explosive growth at the beginning, when the bracelet started taking off. And I think what I learned then was that I needed to have a very clear vision of what MudLOVE was, what we believe, and not leave it up to too much collaboration. I'm a big fan of collaborating. I think it's really important for the business. But there was things that I needed to just say, this is what it is. This is who we are. This is the brand that I envision, and lead from that versus leading from a blank page. Starting at 0 and asking everyone to bring in their ideas. So there has to be a better. I've learned the hard way how to filter ideas and allow people to be a part of the brand and the solutions that are at hand, but they're working from a better foundation, a better core of what the company actually believes in.
Let's see. That's great. So as you've also diversified your product as well, so you're not making it all in-house any longer, are you? Or maybe you are.
Yeah, we've actually expanded our product line out to a place in the Dominican Republic. I never really wanted to just find the cheapest way to make it. We needed help in fulfillment. We needed to have a partnership in fulfillment to help sort of with the ebbs and flows. But but we didn't want it to just be, here, I need these, send them to me, how cheap and how fast can we get them? We wanted it to be thoughtful. I mean, there's people out there that are, just begging for jobs, begging for work. And we happened to partner with someone that's a missionary in the Dominican Republic. His mission was to start a business, and he did, to help women that are basically selling their bodies to put food on the table, selling their bodies for a piece of chicken for themselves for dinner. Really heartbreaking situations where women are so desperate to provide that they will go that low, not because they want to, but because they have to. And so we helped kickstart this business called Plana. They work in the Dominican Republic, and the women come from a village called Monteverde, and they're actually mostly Haitian immigrants. So when we went down there, we thought we're going to be working with Dominican people, but a lot of them were Haitian immigrants, because it's not a great place for them to live there. So they're the least of these. The women there live very hard lives, but we've been able to outsource a handful of our products and work in partnership with them to help us get fulfillment here, keep our staff count lower, and just be a little more flexible on how we get orders out. So it's been a really neat change. It's been a unique change for us, because we really value the handcraftedness of the product. But we now have people handcrafting products in a different country that it's really helping them, and it's great to be a part of that.
Sure. So Luke, when you first started talking, you were talking about a website. You didn't have one right away, but you got one. So today, I'm sure you're doing e-commerce. You'll be able to sell around the world. You're shipping around the world, I'm sure. So I'm not going to put you on the spot of saying what percentage of your business, but I would say, is it a large percentage of your business that's now probably e-commerce?
Yeah, it is. And you can define e-commerce within different channels too. Like our wholesale program is pretty vague, not typically defined as e-commerce, but those transactions happen online. So you could argue that 80-90% of our business is e-commerce, if you look at it that way. But yeah, we do have over 1,000 stores that carry our product. They're going to order online. You could go order online a bracelet or a mug that has your name on it, whatever. But most of it, because we do live in a small town, it does really come from our websites.
So just off the top of your head, I'm guessing you're in multiple countries. Is that correct? You're shipping in many countries?
Yeah, it can depend on who finds us. We did a large order of bracelets for Salvation Army in Australia. We did an order of bracelets for a massage place in South Africa. Plenty of orders to the UK. Yeah, so just depends.
Well, I'm going to tell you where I was headed with this question, because I think about you in that garage by yourself, starting this business 12, 13 years ago. Did you ever think you'd be at this size?
No, I didn't think. I just wanted to make enough money to be able to be my own boss. That was sort of the idea. And I wanted to help people along the way. And yeah, it turned out to be something totally different than what I expected.
Sure. So I think just from talking with you, you're a fantastic entrepreneur, and you've got things in place for all the right reasons. You're not trying to make a lot of money, but you're trying to make a lot of difference in the world. And yeah. I think that's awesome. I do want to talk a little bit about, some challenges you might have had. There's probably times that you maybe considered giving up even, but Are you willing to share a little bit of those challenges?
Yeah, I'm an open book, so that's a fair question. I'm happy to answer. Yeah, plenty of times I thought I don't know if I can sustain this. MudLOVE is something I'm very passionate about, but it has come at a cost for me personally. There's times when it has required me to just really dig in deep and figure out a solution, and always try to work on ways to, surround myself with a team that can do the things that I'm not as gifted in. And And sometimes that's worked and sometimes it hasn't. And so when I found that there's people maybe bringing the company down or whatever, that just has a huge effect on me personally, emotionally. And the times where I know I have to find a solution to a problem that can feel insurmountable, just too much. We have the handcrafted element of what we do is I think inspiring, and then people come in here and they're inspired by it. But the challenge is there's no tool out here that exists to make our product. We had to develop it, and that fell on me. And I think just the way I get excited about these things, I can kind of get into a mad scientist mode and lock myself in a basement and figure some things out. But when I come out of that, sometimes if I'm not taking good care of myself and resting, it can have negative effects on me and the family and just like any human being. So that balance has been hard to find. I think being married with 4 kids has sort of forced the balance, which has been good. And also the fact that my wife is my business partner has really helped recently, because we sort of, after COVID, we sort of kind of pared the company back a little bit. And we decided to give ourselves very specific roles that we feel like that's closest to our gifting. So I feel like the hard times, learning from the hard times has been sort of my go-to. I'm ready to just remember what I've learned and not make the same mistakes. I'm ready to use my experience to really take the company to new levels. And that's sort of the benefit of 12 years of being in business. You get to think back and say, oh, yep, we've tried that before. We're not doing that again.
Sure. Now, Luke, that brings me to a question I always like to ask the entrepreneurs, and that's about your hours. And I know that can shift, but I mean, when I talk about the hours, entrepreneurship is not a 40-hour work week. A lot of times we're thinking when we're not working, we're thinking when we're sleeping, we're thinking about it so much of the time. Let's talk about your average work week. And I'd like to talk about it from maybe 12 years ago to today, and if that's changed and how.
It has changed quite a bit. At the beginning, I had no one to be responsible for. So I enjoyed working. I didn't feel like I was working a lot, but I was committed to doing this, and it was where I needed to be. And that could have been 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. I remember early on, I had an order of 150 cookie jars that had to be made before Christmas. And I got the order in pretty late, and I had to finish it. So I was up at 4 a.m, trying to get these cookie jars done while people were coming in the shop and interrupting me. And so my hours there was no limit to the hours. It was how much can I get done each day. But today it is different. Try to balance my schedule with my wife's schedule. I take care of our youngest 3-year-old every Thursday on Daddy Day. So I only would answer Slack messages or a few emails on that day. But I might work that evening a little bit, or try to find times to get some work done. I think right now I probably do 50 hours a week. And my wife and I are always checking and balancing, is that too much to do at home? Because we don't want to be ignoring our children. But we also want them to understand the value of work and the fact that the food they're eating is a result of us working hard and trying to make good decisions. So it's a gray answer. There's not a lot of, there's structure in our week, but it can definitely vary.
And that's normal. I mean, a true entrepreneur is what you are in every way. And that's normal, because you can't be defined by the number of hours, but there's a lot of pride in the work you're doing. There's a lot of satisfaction in helping others. So, and that's my next question for you, is about the rewards of being an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sure you've had weeks when you did work 100 hours. Why? People ask me that as an entrepreneur, why? What's the reward?
You just get to feel like you're doing something you were born to do. When you watch these shows like Shark Tank and whatever, and people are sobbing and crying, it's like, why are they so emotional? Well, because they've invested everything they have, not just financially, but emotionally, physically, into what they're doing. And people say, oh, it's your baby. It's like, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, yeah, there's an element of this thing that you built and raised that you want to take good care of. Like you would do anything for your kid. There's an element of that in entrepreneurship, which can be very detrimental if you're not careful. But when you find that thing that you just really love to do and you get to do it every day, hard days are still hard, but you're able just to get up and go again the next day.
Sure. And I think that's part of the reason that we do it, because you mentioned before being the boss, but it's not a control thing, but it is a thing that you've got the abilities to make those differences. If there's a cause you really believe in and you want to help them, you can, because you are the entrepreneur.
Yep.
So, Luke, I want to ask you, though, the reason that I met you is because you are one of the Indiana Super Achievers. So when were you identified as an Indiana Super Achiever?
Oh, wow. I'm trying to remember now. 2019 at some point, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yep.
I know there's about just under 40 Indiana Super Achievers, and I can certainly understand why you're one of them. So thank you for everything you're doing as an entrepreneur. It sounds like you've got a great family, and you take care of them as well as your community, and I appreciate that very much. So, Luke, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Sure. This concludes another episode of In Your Business. Today, we spoke with Luke Wright from MudLOVE in Warsaw. You heard this story. You understand how he opened it. It's funny because, it was something he wanted to do. He had no idea he was going to grow from a garage where he was working by himself to having nearly 40 employees today, serving around the world, and not only just as an entrepreneur, but taking care of individuals that he comes across and meets. So just another great successful story about entrepreneurship. Thank you for watching In Your Business.